Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. I'm Eric. Today I'm going to talk about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, the final entry in the Star Trek series featuring the original cast of characters. Of course, some of these characters would show up in some of the Next Generation films, but this would be the last film with the original crew as the central focus. So this film was released in the end of 1991, coming off of The Final Frontier from '89, which didn't do so well with audiences. So Undiscovered Country was sort of a course correction, I guess you could say, where this story, it's more of a political thriller, political intrigue story than the more, I guess, philosophical, metaphysical nature of The Final Frontier. So just a little bit on the story of this one. So, and I should say Nicholas Meyer came back, who had directed Wrath of Khan, came back to, he wrote one of the writers on this film, but also directed the film. And he really brought his touch to it, his identity, with his references to literature and history in the script, gave it the story a real polish. So, but the story involves the Klingon Empire is in serious decline after some natural disasters and some other things. But we learned, I think at one point in the film they even say that the Klingons could have only 50 years left till extinction. So they are in a really bad situation. So this brings about the chance to make peace between the Federation and the Klingons, since they've both been at war. Or, the Klingons were the traditional antagonist of the TV series and at times in the movies, although that would change as well as the Star Trek stories would evolve. But so clearly the allegory here is about the end of the Cold War happening in the early 1990s, the end of the Soviet Union. The film starts out with a catastrophic disaster on a Klingon planet. Clearly the parallel is with Chernobyl right there. So this leads to peace talks between the Federation and the Klingons, which Captain Kirk and his crew are hosting these peace talks. And Kirk in the film is revealed to be, he doesn't want to help the Klingons. At one point he says, let them die. He still holds a grudge after fighting them for a long time, but also for the death of his son David in the third Star Trek film. So that's really Kirk's journey in this film, from one who is trapped in the old ways of thinking and must hopefully evolve with the new state of things. The political intrigue part of the story is aboard the Klingon vessel. Some key leaders are assassinated, and it appears that someone on the Enterprise crew was responsible for it, causing a diplomatic disaster. Kirk and McCoy go and try to revive the leader, and they fail. And basically they are put on trial on the Klingon home planet, and they are forced to a prison planet, an ice planet, where meanwhile Spock is leading the Enterprise, and they have to figure out the mystery of who is behind the assassinations, who or what in the Federation is trying to sabotage these peace talks. So it becomes, like I said, a lot of political intrigue, some mystery, and things like that going on in the story. So it's of course everything works out by the end, where the plot is revealed, and we have the final mission of the Enterprise crew. So yeah, and back to the in a Cold War idea of, you have hawks on both sides who are not ready to accept the end of what was their world, like the Christopher Plummer character, General Chang, I believe, who is still very suspicious of the Federation. as Kirk is still suspicious of them. There's a great dinner scene in the film where they're hosting the Klingons, and they're talking about Shakespeare, and issues of cultural appropriation come up. The idea that the Federation might be more imperialistic than we've been led to believe, always thinking of themselves as the good side in all of these confrontations. So there's a lot of parallels with the real world politics there, where America feeling triumphant as the Cold War was winding down, but also not really reckoning with what some of the things it done during the Cold War. Whether Americans like to think about themselves as the good side and all this. Of course, it's way more complicated than that. So, and like I said, all those Shakespeare allusions. The title itself, "Undiscovered Country," is from Hamlet. All that works really well in the film and really gives it this regal quality, you might say. So overall, it's a satisfying conclusion to the story for this crew. However, though, I do find this film to be maybe not as strong as some of the others in the series. I do find it. I think Star Trek works best when the movies work best, where it's kind of like a hybrid of like a TV episode. It has some of the energy of a TV episode, but some of the grandeur of a movie. And this film, I think, does that. It does accomplish that, but I also think Star Trek works best when you have the whole crew working together, when everyone has something to do. And that becomes an issue in this film, where a lot of the story is Spock and McCoy, or Kirk and McCoy, I should say. Spock is still, he's captain of the Enterprise when Kirk is gone, but nobody in the crew is given a lot to do. There's just a lot of, like I talked about the mystery element in the story, and there's like kind of like a Sherlock Holmes moment where Spock uncovers the plot, and we discover the Kim Cattrall character, a new character, that she's involved with this Federation ploy to stop the peace talks. So a lot of it is it's more of like a Spock show, and I wish others in the cast had been given more to do, kind of like the previous movies were, but this is a different story where everyone is caught up in all of this political intrigue happening with the Federation. So yeah, it's good, it's fine, it's good, but yeah, and the film maybe ends in a somewhat maybe too neat way, but like I said, that's just my criticisms on this one. Yeah, but you can feel definitely the series. It was time to wrap it up. I mean, clearly everyone's looking older. We all look older. To do it on screen, though, that has to be difficult. But there is just. I think the film got that right, the tone right, of this being a story about a crew that's experienced and been around a long time, and they're all approaching the back end of their careers, whatever direction they go. So there is that aspect of the film that I think it handles well for the most part. So yeah, Undiscovered Country, I think it's a very satisfying conclusion, I would say, to the series. I mean, no main character is killed or anything. I guess they tried that earlier with Spock, but it's just okay. It's another mission. They accomplished their mission, and time. Everyone has to move on with their lives now. So I did like that decision to kind of end it on those terms. I thought I would do a very quick ranking. I'm not one to do ranks of movies ranking things, but I thought, okay, I'll do the original Star Treks and give the 6 movies and kind of give my breakdown of the 6. So at the bottom would be, I think, Star Trek Motion Picture for me. This was a film that it's very much tonally not like the others, and this is more of a much more serious philosophical story we have in the motion picture. It's the acting is a little bit wooden in this one, and like I said, some of the new characters introduced wasn't too crazy about with the motion picture, but still the special effects are great. You can see the influence of 2001 and Star Wars. And I would say this one does, in terms of the scores for the series, the Jerry Goldsmith score for the motion picture would be my number one. It is a stunning score. I've never watched this one on the big screen. That could change my opinion of it. But so for the fifth spot, I kind of struggled with this one, and because I think I'm just going to go with Undiscovered Country in that fifth spot. And that's might be a controversial one, but I'm going to put that in the 5 spot. Next, I'm going to go with The Final Frontier. I know most consider this the weakest of the series, and I would agree. Like, I would say 6 is a much better, well-made movie. The script is a lot tighter. The themes and all that is really communicated more clearly. But I always have fun with this one. Yeah, some of the special effects are shoddy as well, but I do kind of like the humor brought to it. I like the antagonist in this one, and I do kind of like how it does really attempt to take the story, where Star Trek has never gone before. So I always have fun with this one, and it does, like 6, it kind of has that final mission quality to it. But I don't know, I always kind of defend this one. Maybe more than I should, but I do. Okay, so going to the third spot, I go with the third film, The Search for Spock. This is kind of the middle picture between 2 and 4 that continues the story. Yeah, this one it's just a great adventure film. It's about loyalty to Spock. It's about the tightness of the crew and how they're all willing to even defy orders to work together. There's some surprising moments in it. So 3 is just it's a very worthy follow-up to Wrath of Khan. Number 2 would be The Voyage Home, the 4th film. This one's just a lot. This is by far the funniest and the funnest mission. It kind of goes into that goofy tone that 5 would go with a little bit. The whole idea of going back in time. You have all the time travel humor. There's the message about saving the humpback whales, which I think gives the film the film ages well with that. And I think this script utilized the entire cast the best, where everyone has some really good moments in 4. And it's just a really satisfying entry in the series. And my number 1, probably this would be a lot of people's number 1, would be Wrath of Khan. I think as the years go by, this is the real gem of the series. Nicholas Meyer's script and direction are first rate. Just the writing of this film, it's rare to come across any film really, but a science fiction film where the dialogue is just so heightened and has a really refined quality to it. You have the great villain antagonist with Khan, Ricardo Montalban, very memorable. But the story's great. It's about, as I said, themes of friendship and loyalty and courage, the whole Kobayashi Maru plot line, and just just a really a film that's a lot of fun, but a very moving film at the same time. So Wrath of Khan would be my number 1. So coming up next, I will be getting into the next generation films that were made in the 90s. There were 3 of them. There was Generations in 94, First Contact 96, and then Insurrection in '98. So I will be covering those. I might just do those next. So you can look forward to those. So thanks for watching. Let me know about your rankings of the Star Trek movies. Do you have a strong case to make for any of these, or if you do, be interesting to hear them in the comments. So I think I'll sign off now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.